Welcome back to our channel, your premier source for all the latest updates, deep dives, and character analyses from the dramatic world of Beyond the Gates. Today is a fantastic day to unpack the explosive secrets and shifting power dynamics currently rocking Fairmont Crest. Grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let us dive straight into the tangled webs of deception and ambition unfolding on our screens. For a remarkably long time, astute viewers have noticed Andre exhibiting highly unusual, erratic, and deeply concerning reactions whenever signs pointing to Heather emerge within the city limits of Fairmont Crest. This is not merely a passing, superficial anxiety. It is a profound, visceral terror rooted in a dark, complicated history that he has desperately and meticulously tried to bury. The formidable walls he has painstakingly built around his current life, his esteemed medical career, and his loving marriage are beginning to show severe, irreparable structural cracks. The immense psychological toll of constantly anticipating an attack from the shadows has left Andre in a devastating state of perpetual hypervigilance. He is constantly looking over his shoulder, jumping at the slightest provocation, and interpreting every minor anomaly as a harbinger of doom. Every passing shadow seems to hold a lethal threat, and every unexpected message feels like a terrifying countdown to his ultimate personal and professional destruction. The suffocating tension surrounding Andre reached an absolute, undeniable boiling point with the sudden arrival of a mysterious, unmarked bottle of champagne delivered directly to the home he shares with his wife, Dani. To an outside, uninformed observer, or even to Dani herself in the initial moments, this delivery might have innocently seemed like a generous, albeit anonymous, gift meant to celebrate their union, a recent milestone, or simply a gesture of goodwill from a colleague. However, the precise moment Andre laid his eyes on the elegant, chilled bottle, the blood entirely drained from his face, and a profound, paralyzing panic set in. The specific brand, the rare vintage, and the ornate labeling were absolutely not random, coincidental choices made by a generic well-wisher. They were a calculated, precision-guided psychological missile aimed directly at Andre's most carefully guarded vulnerabilities. The delivery was a deafening message from someone who knew exactly how to shatter his fragile peace of mind. This particular exquisite bottle of champagne serves as a haunting, physical manifestation of a very specific, incredibly dark chapter in Andre's closely guarded life, his tumultuous time spent in Paris. While Paris is universally celebrated across the globe as the radiant city of lights, love, and romance, for Andre it represents a terrifying labyrinth of deception, dangerous, life-altering alliances, and a catastrophic, unforgivable mistake that he has spent years frantically trying to outrun. The mere sight of the distinctive bottle instantly and violently transported him back in time to a dimly lit, secretive Parisian room. He could almost hear the sinister clinking of crystal glasses and remember the exact details of a devastating pact sealed over that exact same rare vintage. The champagne is absolutely not meant to be opened, poured, or drunk. It is meant to serve as a suffocating, undeniable reminder that his European ghosts have successfully crossed the AAA, navigated the streets of Fairmont Crest, and found their way directly to his literal doorstep. Dani, who is naturally observant, deeply intelligent, and profoundly connected to her husband's emotional state, could not possibly miss the visceral, terrifying reaction the champagne delivery provoked in the man she loves. She watched with growing alarm as Andre's hands trembled uncontrollably while holding the cold glass of the bottle, his eyes frantically darting around their living room as if desperately searching for an invisible, armed intruder hiding in the corners. When she gently but firmly questioned him about the identity of the sender and his obvious, overwhelming distress, Andre's frantic attempts to brush the incident off were clumsy, disjointed, and entirely unconvincing. He desperately tried to mask his sheer unadulterated terror with a incredibly thin, fragile veneer of casual dismissal, but the emotional damage was already done. The more Andre attempts to clumsily sidestep the glaring issue and protect his marriage through the dangerous act of omission, the more he inadvertently waters the toxic seeds of doubt and suspicion that are rapidly growing and taking root in Dani's mind. She knows with absolute certainty that her husband is hiding something massive, and the foundational trust of their marriage is beginning to fracture under the crushing weight of his continued silence. The immense, crushing, and unrelenting pressure of carrying this monumental, life destroying secret entirely alone finally pushed Andre to the absolute brink of a full confession. In a rare moment of sheer, unadulterated desperation and profound psychological exhaustion, he actively sought out Ted, desperately hoping to find a reliable confidant who could help him navigate the terrifying, impending storm that was about to make landfall on his life. The interaction between Andre and Ted was incredibly heavy, thick with agonizing, unspoken tension that seemed to suck the oxygen right out of the room. Andre paced the floor relentlessly, his words fragmented and chaotic, constantly dancing around the dangerous edges of the truth without ever fully stepping into the illuminating yet terrifying light of honesty. He desperately wanted to unburden his tortured soul, to clearly articulate the exact horrifying nature of the threat currently hanging over his head, but the paralyzing, suffocating fear of the inevitable, disastrous consequences kept his lips tightly sealed. This aborted, painful confession vividly and tragically illustrates just how heavy the burden of his Parisian past has truly become. It is a weight far too massive for any one man to carry in isolation, yet it remains far too dangerous and explosive to safely share with anyone else. The intense psychological warfare escalated dramatically from symbolic, threatening champagne bottles to a terrifying, undeniable physical reality when Andre was ultimately forced into a secret, highly clandestine meeting with Heather herself. The atmosphere of their secluded encounter was completely suffocating, fraught with an intense, palpable predator and prey dynamic that left Andre feeling entirely powerless. Heather, ever the masterful, terrifying manipulator, absolutely did not come to this meeting to offer an apology, to negotiate a truce, or to retreat into the shadows. She came specifically to aggressively assert her absolute dominance over his life. As they stood together in the concealing darkness, far removed from the prying, curious eyes of Fairmont Crest everyday residents, Heather began to systematically, coldly explain the twisted rationale behind her recent, terrifying actions. Every single word she spoke was laced with a chilling, sociopathic calm, providing a stark, horrifying contrast to Andre's barely contained, sweating panic. Heather's elaborate explanations were, of course, nothing more than deeply twisted, manipulative justifications specifically designed to corner Andre even further into submission. She expertly and seamlessly wove a complex narrative that simultaneously attempted to absolve her of any direct malice while explicitly, undeniably outlining the immense destructive power she currently held over his entire future. She made it abundantly, terrifyingly clear that the delivery of the Parisian champagne was merely a gentle opening gambit, a soft, polite tap on the glass to let him know she was watching his every move. Andre realized with horrifying, crystal clear certainty that he was entirely, hopelessly at her mercy. He had officially become a direct, targeted pawn in whatever grand, highly destructive scheme Heather was currently orchestrating behind the scenes. The clandestine meeting solidified his absolute worst, most paralyzing fears. He was not merely being haunted by the memories of his past, he was actively, aggressively being hunted by the very physical embodiment of it. The old enduring adage, you can run, but you can absolutely never hide, has never been more agonizingly, tragically applicable than it is to Andre's desperate situation in this current gripping storyline. For countless years, he has sprinted away from his past transgressions with everything he has, tirelessly building an impenetrable fortress of medical respectability, unparalleled professional success, and idyllic domestic bliss with his wife, Dani. He has carefully curated a pristine, unblemished reputation in the city of Fairmont Crest, serving as a reliable pillar of the community and a trusted professional. Yet, all of this frantic, exhausting running has only led him directly into a terrifying, inescapable dead end. He is completely, utterly cornered by his own history. The metaphorical walls are rapidly closing in on him, and the very mechanisms he currently uses to protect himself, the elaborate lies, the constant deflections, the suffocating secrecy, are the exact precise tools that Heather is masterfully using to systematically dismantle his perfect life piece by agonizing piece. Andre is currently operating in a state of pure adrenaline-fueled survival mode, unable to think past the immediate threat standing in front of him. His primary overriding objective is to fiercely protect his beloved marriage to Dani and preserve his hard-earned, stellar reputation from total, irreversible annihilation. However, his chosen strategy of extreme avoidance and denial is backfiring spectacularly on every conceivable front. By stubbornly refusing to confront the terrifying Heather situation head on, and by deliberately keeping Dani completely in the dark regarding the true nature of the danger, he is actively isolating himself from the very people who could potentially offer him support or assistance. His increasingly erratic, unpredictable behavior, his sudden, unexplained absences from home and work, and the palpable, radiating aura of sheer fear constantly surrounding him are drawing far more unwanted attention than the honest truth ever possibly would. His loved ones, colleagues, and friends are now on high alert, and the fragile, protective bubble he has desperately tried to maintain around his existence is on the absolute verge of a catastrophic, highly public burst. While Andre silently battles the terrifying ghosts of his European past in the dark shadows of the city, a very different but equally vicious and destructive war is rapidly brewing in the brightly lit, opulent corridors of Fairmont Crestmost, prestigious, elite law firm. The established corporate landscape of the firm is currently undergoing a massive seismic shift, driven entirely by the rapidly declining, deeply concerning health of the firm's founding patriarch, Bill. As Bill's physical condition continues to steadily worsen, his once ironclad grip on the daily operations, the financial decisions, and the long-term strategic direction of the firm inevitably and noticeably loosens. This unfortunate, unavoidable medical reality has inadvertently created a massive, highly dangerous power vacuum at the very top of the firm's organizational chart, and the ambitious, opportunistic corporate vultures are already beginning to aggressively circle the premises. Stepping boldly and unapologetically into this expanding power vacuum is Naomi, who is aggressively and publicly asserting her absolute rights, not just as a highly capable, intelligent legal professional, but specifically as Bill's direct daughter and rightful bloodline heir. Naomi's chosen approach to claiming power is highly symbolic, incredibly provocative, and designed to send a clear message to everyone in the building. She recently made the highly calculated, incredibly bold decision to physically occupy Bill's grand office, taking a seat directly behind his massive, imposing mahogany desk. This action was absolutely not a simple matter of logistical convenience or a temporary innocent workspace arrangement while her father was away. It was a powerful, undeniable, and highly visible declaration of corporate succession. By physically sitting in the ultimate seat of power, Naomi is visually and practically communicating to the entire staff, from the senior partners down to the paralegals, that she fully intends to inherit her father's grand legacy and assume total, unquestioned control of his life's monumental work. This incredibly bold, highly aggressive maneuver by Naomi has absolutely, completely infuriated Tomas, immediately setting the volatile stage for a brutal, unforgiving corporate civil war within the firm's glass walls. Tomas has dedicated countless years of his life, his immense sweat equity, and his unparalleled, brilliant legal expertise to building, expanding, and fiercely maintaining the firm's elite, untouchable status in the legal community. He fundamentally views himself as the only logical, merit-based, and truly deserving successor to Bill's vast empire. Watching Naomi effortlessly bypass the traditional, grueling corporate hierarchy simply by virtue of her genetic bloodline is a bitter, jagged pill that Tomas absolutely, categorically refuses to swallow. He is fiercely, violently protective of his hard-earned senior position and views Naomi's sudden, unearned elevation as a direct existential threat to his entire career trajectory and his established authority within the company. On the superficial surface, the immediate, visible conflict between the two ambitious lawyers revolves entirely around the physical occupation of Bill's grand desk. Tomas is visibly, vocally irritated by what he strongly perceives as Naomi's arrogant, deeply disrespectful presumptuousness in claiming the corner office before Bill has even officially legally stepped down from his role. However, the mahogany desk is merely the initial spark, the proverbial lit match carelessly dropped directly into a massive powder keg of unchecked ambition, deep-seated resentment, and pure corporate greed. Tomas's raging anger is not truly, fundamentally, about a piece of expensive office furniture. It is deeply rooted in a profound, terrifying, and consuming professional insecurity. He is deeply, genuinely worried that Naomi is successfully, ruthlessly maneuvering behind the scenes to become the ultimate, dominant voice at the firm, effectively sidelining his years of dedication and permanently reducing his immense influence to that of a mere easily replaceable subordinate. The true underlying nature of this escalating dispute is a high-stakes, winner-takes-all battle for absolute, unmitigated power and total control over the entire lucrative law firm. If Bill's fragile health continues its tragic downward trajectory, eventually rendering him permanently incapacitated, or worse, the incredibly fragile, tense peace currently existing between Tomas and Naomi will shatter completely and violently. This is absolutely no longer a polite, civilized disagreement over office logistics or temporary titles. It is a cutthroat, devastating war of corporate succession. Tomas is fully prepared to fight tooth and nail, utilizing every legal loophole and alliance he has to defend his hard-won territory and validate his years of unwavering loyalty. Conversely, Naomi is fully prepared to leverage every single ounce of her familial privilege, her inherent ruthless ambition, and her father's name to permanently secure her perceived birthright. The prestigious firm is ultimately destined to be completely torn apart as these two formidable, unyielding forces violently collide, definitively proving to everyone watching that in the dramatic city of Fairmont Crest, the vicious battles fought in brightly lit boardrooms can be just as deadly, destructive, and life-altering as those fought in the darkest, most dangerous alleys.